Welcome to the Depthcast. I'm Echo, your voice in the shadows, your guide through the strange, the haunted, and the forgotten. If you're drawn to the legends, the chills, and the things that stir after midnight, consider subscribing for more. Hit that like and subscribe button to help me grow and keep the darkness whispering. Now, let's head to Alabama. To a quiet college with a restless past and a woman in red who never truly left. There's something about old college buildings at night. The way the wooden floors creak under your feet. The hollow echo of your footsteps bouncing off walls that have witnessed generations pass through their corridors. But at Huntingdon College in Montgomery, Alabama, there's one set of footsteps you never want to hear following you after dark. Slow, deliberate steps that come with a strange crimson glow. A light that shouldn't be there, casting long shadows where there should be none. They say she appears most often on the 4th floor of Pratt Hall. A figure dressed entirely in red, sometimes just a silhouette, sometimes detailed enough to see the anguish frozen on her face. Students have reported hearing soft sobbing in empty rooms, feeling sudden drops in temperature, and witnessing doors opening and closing by themselves. But the most terrifying sign of her presence? That unmistakable red glow seeping from under a door that should have remained locked forever. Welcome to Whispers in the Dark, where we explore the shadows that lurk in America's most haunted location. Tonight, we're diving into one of the South's most enduring ghost stories. The tale of the Red Lady of Huntingdon College. Before we meet our spectral resident, let's set the scene. Huntingdon College in Montgomery, Alabama, regularly appears on lists of America's most haunted universities. Founded in 1854 as a women's college, it was originally located in Tuskegee, before moving to its current Montgomery location in 1909. The campus features stunning Gothic Revival architecture, red brick buildings with white columns that exude Southern charm by day, but transform into something far more ominous once darkness falls. At the heart of our story stands Pratt Hall, a dormitory that has housed generations of young women seeking education, independence, and friendship. But for one particular student, these walls became a prison of loneliness and despair. A prison she seemingly never escaped, even in death. What's particularly interesting about Huntingdon's Red Lady is that according to author Catherine Tucker Wyndham, who chronicled the tale in her famous book 13 Alabama Ghosts, and Jeffrey, there may actually have been two different Red Ladies haunting this institution. The first manifestation reportedly appeared in the late 19th century, while the college was still located in Tuskegee. Female residents of a dormitory reported seeing a young woman dressed entirely in scarlet, carrying a matching parasol, walking wordlessly through the hallways late at night. Most disturbing was the red glow that seemed to emanate from her very being, bathing the corridors in an unnatural crimson light. Witnesses claimed this apparition would silently pace the halls before eventually leaving the building and disappearing through a gateway outside. No one ever discovered her identity or why she was bound to this location. And then, just as mysteriously as she appeared, the sightings stopped. But perhaps she didn't leave at all. Perhaps she simply relocated. Years later, after the college had moved to Montgomery and become the Women's College of Alabama, later renamed Huntingdon, a new student arrived from New York City. Her name was Martha, though some accounts call her Margaret, and from the moment she stepped onto campus, something about her seemed off. Martha hadn't chosen to come to Alabama. Her attendance was mandated by her father's will, which specified she must attend his mother's alma mater to receive her inheritance. The young woman arrived reluctantly, a northern transplant thrust into the heart of the South, where customs and social expectations differed dramatically from what she knew. When her trunk was unpacked in her room on the 4th floor of Pratt Hall, curious onlookers were startled by what they saw. Everything, and I mean everything, was red. Red curtains for her windows, red bedspread, red rug on the floor, red decorative items. Even the clothes she brought were predominantly crimson. When fellow students asked about her obvious fixation with the color, Martha would change the subject or simply not respond. She dressed in red nearly every day, transforming her already unusual presence into something almost spectral, even while alive.
Jag viskar en hemlighet. Säg inget till någon. Säg inget.
Martha's roommate requested a transfer after just a few days, finding the girl's obsession with red and her increasingly melancholic demeanor disturbing. A succession of roommates followed, each staying briefly before finding reasons to leave. Eventually, even the student body president, who volunteered to room with Martha, hoping to befriend the isolated girl, moved out after reporting feelings of unexplainable depression while sharing the space. As Martha watched her final roommate packing to leave, something inside her seemed to break. "You're just like all the rest," she reportedly said. "You think I'm stuck up and a snob, and I'm so different you don't even try to get along with me. But I'll tell you one thing, you're going to be sorry you moved out of this room. You'll never forget this day." Left entirely alone, Martha's isolation deepened. Being naturally shy and unfamiliar with Southern social customs, she struggled to connect with her peers. The language barrier didn't help her pronounce Northern accent, made her stand out in conversations, furthering the divide between her and the other students. In her loneliness, Martha began wandering the dormitory halls at night. She would stop outside rooms where she heard laughter and conversation, occasionally opening doors just to peek inside. The moment she appeared, all talking would cease. When she closed the door and continued down the hallway, she could hear the laughter resume now directed at her. Before we continue with Martha's tragic story, let's take a moment to address a question from one of our listeners. Emily from Boston writes, "I've heard that students at Huntingdon College today still report strange occurrences in Pratt Hall. Is Martha's original room still in use, or has it been sealed off because of the haunting?" That's an excellent question, Emily. According to visitors to the campus, Pratt Hall is still used as a dormitory, though the building has been renovated over the years. While I couldn't find confirmation that Martha's specific room has been sealed off, there are reports from students about a persistent eerie feeling on the 4th floor. Some claim to avoid that section of the building altogether, especially at night. In fact, a reviewer who visited the campus noted they could still see red curtains in a window of Pratt Hall as recently as 2021. Whether those are maintained as part of the legend or truly a manifestation of the haunting remains a mystery. Now, let's return to our story. As weeks passed, Martha's mental state deteriorated. The combination of homesickness, social isolation, and constant rejection proved too much to bear. One day Martha didn't appear for classes. She missed meals, and no one reported seeing her in the corridors. Concerned, the house mother sent a student to check on her welfare. As the student approached Martha's room on the 4th floor, she noticed something unusual, a red light emanating from beneath the door and over the transom. When she pushed the door open, she was met with a sight so horrifying that she screamed and fainted on the spot. Martha lay on the floor, wrapped in her red bedspread, surrounded by a pool of blood. Her wrists had been slashed, and nearby lay her red parasol. In her deepest despair, she had taken her own life, alone in the room that had become both her sanctuary and her prison. It wasn't long after Martha's death that the strange occurrences began. Students reported seeing a red glow in the corridors of the fourth floor, eerily similar to the glow described by students decades earlier at the Tuskegee campus. Some claimed to see a female figure dressed entirely in red, moving silently through the halls at night. Those who lived on the third floor, directly below Martha's room, reported hearing slow footsteps pacing back and forth above them, footsteps that couldn't be explained, as the room remained unoccupied after the tragedy. The most disturbing reports came from students who claimed the door to Martha's former room would sometimes open by itself, revealing a red light inside before slowly closing again. On the anniversary of her suicide, though the exact date remains unknown, witnesses have described seeing an especially bright red light glowing from her window. As decades passed, the legend of the Red Lady became firmly entrenched in Huntingdon College lore. Students began organizing an annual event called the Red Lady Run, in recognition of the haunting. Tour groups visit the campus hoping for a glimpse of the spectral resident, and the story has been featured in numerous books on Southern hauntings. Perhaps one of the most compelling recent encounters occurred just a few years ago. For senior students who had grown up hearing the Red Lady legend, were sitting in a room on the fourth floor, planning their graduation party. The door was partially open, and all four were positioned so they could see into the hallway. As they discussed their plans, they all witnessed a red shape move slowly past the doorway. For separate witnesses, all seeing the same apparition, a powerful testament to the enduring presence of Huntingdon's most famous resident. Let's take another question from a listener. James from Montgomery writes, I'm fascinated by the Red Lady story, especially since I live near Huntingdon College. Has anyone ever tried to communicate with Martha's ghost, or perform an investigation to determine if there's truth to the legend? That's a fascinating question, James. While I couldn't find documentation of official paranormal investigations at Huntingdon College, the legend has been investigated by folklore researchers and historians. Catherine Tucker Wyndham, who popularized the story in her book, was herself a Huntingdon alumna who had heard the tale firsthand as a freshman. What's particularly interesting is how some researchers question whether Martha or Margaret was a real person at all. Despite the vividness of the legend, historical records haven't conclusively identified a student matching her description who died under these circumstances. This has led some to suggest that the story might be an evolution of the earlier Red Lady sightings from the Tuskegee campus, transformed over generations of retelling into the more detailed narrative we know today. That said, many people who've spent time in Pratt Hall insist the haunting is real, regardless of its historical accuracy. The consistent nature of the sightings always, featuring the color red, always centered on the fourth floor suggests something unexplainable continues to manifest in those hallways. It's worth noting that ladies in red or red ladies appear in ghost stories across America and beyond. Unlike their more common counterparts, white ladies who typically represent innocence or purity lost, Red Lady ghosts are often associated with passionate love, betrayal, or violence. Their red attire symbolizes blood, intense emotion, or sometimes vanity. What makes Huntingdon's Red Lady particularly compelling is how she fits this archetype, while still maintaining her unique story. Her red obsession wasn't tied to a lost love or violent death at another's hands, but rather to her own internal struggles with identity and belonging, making her perhaps more relatable than many ghostly figures. As our time together draws to a close, I find myself wondering about the true nature of Martha's haunting. Is she trapped in an endless cycle of loneliness, still seeking the connection she couldn't find in life? Or is her presence a warning about the devastating effects of isolation and the human need for compassion? If you ever find yourself walking the corridors of Pratt Hall at Huntingdon College after dark, and notice a red glow ahead of you, or hear footsteps when no one should be there, perhaps it's just your imagination, or perhaps it's Martha, still seeking someone who will understand her, still hoping for a friend who won't leave. But be careful if you decide to approach that red glow. According to campus folklore, those who spend too much time in Martha's presence begin to feel an inexplicable sadness washing over them. Her melancholy, it seems, is contagious, a reminder that some emotional states can be as infectious as they are destructive. And if you hear a gentle knock on your door late at night, and open it to find a young woman dressed entirely in red standing silently before you, perhaps it's best not to invite her in. After all, some guests, once welcomed, never truly leave. This has been Whispers in the Dark. I'm your host, and until next time, remember, not all those who wander the halls at night are among the living. Visit us at www.thedepthcast.com for more chilling urban legends, modern folklore, and exclusive bonus podcast episodes available only online.